Final question, which comes from a Selena Grapes. Very interesting name and an interesting question. She writes, "Hey Alex, if Disney had not renewed their deal with Sony, what do you think would have happened with Tom Holland's Spider-Man sequel?" Thank you for your question, Selena. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, okay? And I don't know how Jeremy feels about this, but I'm gonna be honest. If Disney did not renew their deal with Sony, contractually, they're not obligated. Contractually, I'm sorry. Sony cannot mention all the stuff that Tom Holland had done in all the previous films that had to do with Iron Man, the Avengers, none of that. So what would Spider-Man 3 would look like? I'll tell you what it would look like. They would have rebooted Spider-Man. Got rid of him. This is about money. You cannot continue a story that involved the Avengers of some kind and think that it's just going to be good. You can't. Unless they did some pseudo multiverse thing with Tom Holland, I don't really see it gelling well. And again, I've said that I don't care how many meetings that Tom Holland has had with Bob Iger, Alan Horn, and the people at Sony. There was nothing that Tom Holland could have said or done to get them to coincide with continuing having Spider-Man in the MCU. I think personally, Spider-Man is better off in the MCU. But let's just say, for argument's sake, they didn't renew the deal. There's a reason why Tom Holland went to Bob Iger and Alan Horn. Because they knew they were going to let go of his ass. They were going to let him go. And also keep this in mind, Tom Holland's biggest payday in any acting movie he's done is Spider-Man. It's a franchise. So at the end of the day, I genuinely believe, and actually talking to some people who are in the industry, they were going to revamp and let him go and recast. And has nothing to do with Tom Holland as a person. I think Tom Holland is the best person for Spider-Man. They just, from a marketing, moving, telling standpoint, they were going to reboot Spider-Man and tell a completely different story, either with Peter Parker, maybe Miles Morales, maybe Ben Reilly. Who knows? We don't know what they were going to do. But Jeremy, what do you think would have happened if they did not renew their deal with Sony?
This is a cool what-if scenario. I like this question a lot. I like all these questions. I appreciate you guys hooking us up with interesting stuff to talk about. But this one in particular, it got me kind of just trying to extrapolate what is Disney Marvel from what was Sony Marvel. And when you said they can't reference anything that happened in previous movies, real quick before I get started, what about the Vulture? Is the Vulture allowed to exist in the Sony movies?
So they own the Vulture, yes. But say for instance, they can't say that the Vulture used to work for Tony Stark.
Right. Okay. Sure. All right. So going under those kind of guidelines, I think that without Marvel, Sony would lean heavily into all of Spider-Man's supporting characters. This way they can get him tangled up in that metaphorical web so that he's so connected to the rest of the Spider-Verse that Sony's still able to leverage him. Hey, look, we've got the Sinister Six over here. We've got Venom over here. I think their immediate plan would be to try to get Tom Hardy and Tom Holland into a movie together because Venom made buku bucks at the box office. People tended to like it, I think, for the most part, even though critics weren't necessarily wild about it. I didn't love it. But
that movie's trash.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we're on the same page. If it were me, and this is something that's been bandied around on the internet for quite a while, so I'm not going to take full credit for the wanting to have Kraven the Hunter in it, but I would use J. Jonah Jameson as the kickoff point. He's got this kind of Alex Jones-esque conspiracy talk show, and he's constantly talking about what a menace and how bad Spider-Man is. Lo and behold, we get this Russian terrorist guy who is Kraven the Hunter, who has decided that he's going to go into Queens and he's going to hunt down Spider-Man. So now, instead of him being far from home or it being like a globe-trotting thing, I'm thinking more of like a Bourne franchise, like the Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne Ultimatum or whatever, where Kraven is stalking or hunting Peter through Queens, where Spider-Man's got the home court advantage. In this version, Craven isn't like against guns and weapons and stuff. He's like a munitions expert, and he's using all of the tools at his disposal as a way to bring down Spider-Man. But then at some point, he's going to realize that Spider-Man is not the person that he had been led to believe that he was, and that J. Jonah Jameson is essentially like using propaganda against him. So I think you could have some like really cool, almost Winter Soldier type potential, and really scale it down, leave out the entire rest of the universe, and just really focus in on J. Jonah Jameson creating a narrative that society, creating the narrative that Spider-Man is bad, so everybody in society is starting to turn on him. And now we've got this person who's, in a way, heroic because he's going to do what he believes to be like a good thing, only when he realizes he's basically just been a tool that's being used to go after somebody who's just an innocent kid. I think there's a lot of cool storytelling potential there.
And that's actually a really good narrative. I never really thought about that, but yeah, I would love to see Craven hunt Spider-Man like in the comic book The Last Hunt. That would be dope, But what do you guys think? Jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts about what would have happened if Disney didn't renew their deal with with Sony. But thank you.